Right, so apologies folks for the delay and for the CMR 04 run going wrong. We've got the next run on standby, ready to go. This is Colin McRae Rally 1 for the PlayStation 1, the Novice Championship, which is being run by Hypno. And I'll pass you guys over to him. So, yeah, so let's join him for his run.
Right, dude, you're all ready to go.
Alright.
I'll be quiet, then just let me know.
Alright. Should be live. Alright. This is CMR 1, Colin McRae Rally 1 for the PS1. It's going to be semi-similar to CMR 2 in a lot of ways, but more emphasis on tricky cornering rather than outright skips. So, alright. Time will start when I hit OK. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Alright. So again, similarly to CMR2, we're going to be seeing groups of tracks in certain countries. The first one is New Zealand. You're going to see 3 tracks in each area. I should also note before starting that this is being played on an NTSC 90K PS2. The optimal version of the game is the American version, hence why this. The first thing that might be alarming compared to the other CMRs is that I'm playing on automatic. It's not a huge difference between manual and automatic in this game. Automatic saves time on tricky turns, so I save time in Sweden, and Corsica especially, whereas people that run on manual will save times on Greece because of the open straights. A good time for New Zealand 1 is around about a 2:20, so we'll see what we can get. But yeah, as I said, lots of tricky turns, lots of emphasis on... Actually, here's a fun fact. CMR2 relies a lot more, and this is why manual is probably more optimal for CMR2, is because of the sheer reliance on braking a lot in CMR2, whereas this game allows you to go a little bit more flat out through certain bends that you probably wouldn't be able to if they were in CMR2. So that's interesting. Little abuse of scenery here. You can actually ride this scenery because it slopes, and it just helps you around that corner. You wouldn't be able to go even near 100 if you did that turn properly, but we don't. And again, here, cutting just over the grass gives us a better turn in. A good split time here is about a 147, 146. I think this is a 147, yeah. It's not too amazing, but just average. You don't want to go too tight on New Zealand 1 turns, especially this turn coming up here, because it's like borderline glitchy where if you take turns too tight, you'll just lose so much speed. It's awful. So yeah, you don't want to do that at all. You want to go wide that turn. And yeah, this is probably going to be about a 221, maybe a 220. Okay, that's not bad. There we go. New Zealand 2, a lot similar actually to New Zealand 1. New Zealand 3 is when it gets a lot different. But New Zealand 2, again, a lot of emphasis on tricky turns, and keeping speed through turns as well is going to be important in this stage. Mainly because there's a lot of 3 rights, and like 2 lefts, 3 rights, 3 lefts, 2 rights, where it's important to keep speed through them. Because if you brake too much, then you're just going to lose so much time on the follow through. So it's quite important to keep your speed up through this level. I'd like to say around 65 kilometers per hour while going around this turn. That was actually really goddamn good. Stayed above 72. That was superb. And as I said before, a lot of like 1 lefts, 2 rights, stuff like that. Very important to keep your speed up. So they didn't really want to dip below 50 there, but we did. Good split time around here is about a 102, 103. I think this might be a 102 from lucky. Yep, 102. Very nice. This section of the course is actually quite difficult, mainly because of the sudden change in terrain. Makes the car quite hard to grip and keep your speed up at the same time and do tight cornering. It's all quite difficult. But if you exit this turn at about 123, you're in good shape. I think I exited at about 122 there. Should be about a 130 split. Yep. And as I said before, lots of 2 lefts, 2 rights, trying to keep your speed up through this. Ooh, that was really bad. That was slow, yeah. Wasn't exactly what we wanted. Probably the hardest turn on the course, this one. Very hard to navigate through there. And once again, keep your speed up somehow. And this is the section that I was mainly talking about when I referenced trying to keep your speed up. It's very hard to, just because of the amount of turns in a row. Probably my favourite turn in the course. You can basically go flat out through there even though it's a 5 right. Just because of the way the terrain works. In CMR2, for example, there was no way you could go through that section flat out. No chance. You would have been in the wall. Same with that one there. You can just go flat out. This turn is deceptively sharp. You think it's going to be a 4 left, and it actually feels like a 5 left when you're going round it. Anything sub 3 here is like decent. I don't think it's going to be quite that. Yeah, that's still fine. And for the first time we're going to change our tyres in this run. So wet grooves for this is super helpful just because obviously the weather is raining. But this is definitely by far the hardest track in New Zealand for obvious reasons. Just the grip. Very hard to keep the car stable at times, especially around like 4 lefts, 5 lefts, stuff like that. But yeah, for example, turns like this, it's like hard to keep your speed through the follow through as well as make the turn optimally. It's quite difficult. This track also introduces the first corner cut of the run that you're going to see a lot more in tracks like Greece, or in countries like Greece rather. But for the first time, and only time in New Zealand, you will see a corner cut in this track. Square left followed by 2 right. I mean that turn, followed by this as well. It's very rare that you stay above 50 going around this turn. Even 40. So onto this section. There is actually, I wouldn't even refer to it as a corner cut, I'd more refer to it as an exploit, where the bushes have really weird hit detection, and sometimes you can just go through them flawlessly, and other times they'll like spin you out. I'm going to go for the risky strat here, just see if I can show it off, but the actual strat is going through the bush, losing a bit of speed but is consistent every time. I'm going to try and thread the needle and see if I spin out or not. So here we go. Okay, that could have been a lot worse. I've had that exact line before and I've been span out. But instead I just got a bit of slowdown, but nothing too bad. This has actually been a pretty decent New Zealand 3 so far. Not bad at all. Again, the corner cut is coming up here at some point. After a 5 left or a 4 left, I forget. You have a nice corner cut. Here we go. Yeah, 5 left. So you do the 5 left, and then you can actually, instead of doing this 5 right, you can just cut through here. That was very nice. It's quite hard to do that corner cut and not slide off the other side, just because of the way the physics work in this game. Alright. A couple of left turns and then that is it for New Zealand. I should also mention, for a long time, the Skoda was thought to be the fastest car in the game. Before I believe it was BPG who found out that the Golf was actually the fastest, just simply because of the weight and acceleration of it. But yeah, Greece 1, and we're going to put on good acceleration instead of max, just because of the top speed of the car helps a lot on the straights of Greece. But we don't want to just go balanced speed, because there are still a lot of U-turns that we have to look after. So it's very important on the first straight of this track also not to skid too much. Skidding in Greece loses a bunch of momentum, so try not to. Okay, I skidded a bit there, but not too much. That could have been a lot worse. Trying to stay above 60. Barely dipped under 60 there, but still fine. And yeah, this is where manual saves a lot of time, because whereas automatic can barely reach 6th gear, like it can sometimes reach 6th, but not usually. Manual can automatically shift into 6th gear and just save a bunch of time. However, manual will lose time on the later parts of this same track. So. Oh, bit of lag, nice. You want to reach this exit about 105. That's what I've done. It's not bad, not bad. That was a very nice turn, good line. Again, that probably could have been better. You can actually do that turn while staying above 50 mile an hour. It's very hard, but you can do it. I think I went to about 44 there, which isn't too bad. Oh, I've skidded. Okay, that is terrible. There you want to stay high so that that exact thing doesn't happen. That probably costs like 1.5 seconds easily. However, this is where manual loses quite a bit of time, because I can actually stay around 30 mile an hour here, whereas manual dips to about 25. .203.8. You want to get about 202s there, which it makes sense that I didn't because of that one mistake. But yeah, still fine though. Good time for this track is about a 254, 253. I have gotten 252s before, but they're very hard. Very good. Stayed about 35 there. That was very good. Manual dips to about 29, 28 there. It's very hard to keep that up. As manual, yeah, 254. Could have been a 253 if I didn't have that one mistake there. Oh crap. Okay, there you go. So essentially, if you menu too fast, you can accidentally hit save game, and that costs about 6 seconds. So yeah, that's not very good. To be fair though, it probably wasn't a bad thing to show that off, because that can get a lot of new runners caught off guard. I know it did for me when I first started running the game. I used to do that all the time. So, haven't done that for a while actually, but There you go. So yeah. This track has a lot more like hairpins to it than Grease 1. Well, not so much hairpins, but just sharp turns in general. I think Grease 1 has about 3 or 4, whereas this track has about 7 or 8. So, yeah. Definitely a more automatic friendly track, for sure. Excellent. Staying above 70 there is really hard. Happy I did that. That was fast. Now that wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it'll do. Something I should mention about Grease is the white terrain on the outsides of the track. It makes your car flip so easily. It's very easy to mess up one turn, go on there and accidentally just roll your car instantly. It's very unforgiving terrain. Not very good at all. You want to stay around 60 mile an hour there, and I dipped down to about 50, I think. That wasn't very good, but there you go. And here's the final straight. This straight, you're actually going to see the first use of wall bumping, or wall grinding, however you want to call it, right here. Because that way we avoid the bushes that are on the right hand side, while still maintaining quite a lot of speed. Very useful. Alright, final track of Grease 3. Probably has one of my favourite strats in the entire game right at the end, down the final straight. It's a really fun strat to pull off. Apart from that, this track, a lot more emphasis on turns and exiting of turns rather than flat out straights, apart from right at the end, of course. This is a perfect example of that. Like the importance of managing your speed and also managing the way you exit turns over speed on the entry to turns, because like speed on the entry to turns is fine, but if you can't get a good exit on this track, you're gonna get a bad time. Like that's it. So yeah. This is a good example. You don't want to go too wide there, otherwise it sets you up terrible for this. Absolutely awful to get wrong that turn. Same with this. If you know that you can go tight, then that's fine, but if you treat it like a normal 5 left, then you're going to get destroyed. Same with this actually. You can kind of cut that corner off, keep your speed through here, which is very useful for that 1 left, 1 right. Very good exit. Managed to keep my speed up. Alright. Here comes the straight. This is probably one of my favourite parts of the entire game, actually. Just because of the strat at the end of it. First of all, it's so satisfying, but secondly, this strat right here, we're going to go for a wall bump instead of braking on this 4 left. See if I can get it without flipping. Got it. That strat is really fun to do. Because there is a huge risk that you roll your car there. But it didn't happen. We're actually going to switch to good Excel again for Monte Carlo. That was poor menuing, but whatever. It's fine. Alright. I do believe I was a sub-19 Greece as well, which is really quite good. Pretty good pace. Especially considering I hit save game after Greece 1. This is probably, along with Sweden, probably one of the most technical rallies in the game. Especially Monte Carlo 1, aka the track I'm on right now. Just because the tarmac parts aren't that bad. This part that I'm on right now. And now I'm off it again. But the ice that I'm currently on is so hard to go fast on. Like, this tarmac allows you a bit of grip, but this section right here, the ice just completely, I mean, it's so hard to go fast on. Most of the time you're going to see me do stuff like this, little wall bump instead of braking, because braking you have to go down to about 40, 45 mile an hour just to make some of these turns, just because the ice is so bad for grip. And again, little wall bump straight right there. Let's see. Couldn't quite get it, but honestly, that strat right there, even with me messing it up that bad, is still faster than braking, because that's how bad the ice is. So. However, it's worth braking here because I'm on tarmac and I can actually keep my speed up a bit. However, here it is totally not worth braking. I may as well just go for the wall bump. So you can really see where track management comes into play on this course. Just knowing the terrain is incredibly useful. Here's a little strat. If you clip the off-road section there, you can actually not only make a tight turn without slowing down too much, but it slows you down enough to make the next turn. Very nice strat, but I don't see many people go for. By right, on the ice, I'm just going to bump off the railing, because it's faster. Still underestimate, yeah, even with saving. Man. Lovely, that was really fast. And again, don't need to wall bump here because I'm on the tarmac. Now I do because I'm on the ice. Track management is so important on this level. Once again, because I'm on tarmac, I'm not going to wall bump. I'm just going to brake and go because I can, because the terrain allows me to. This has actually been a really good Monte Carlo one, to be fair. Really, really good. Yeah, lovely line. I have to brake down to about 50 just to make that. There's an example of how treacherous that terrain can be. That is it. That was actually a pretty good Monte Carlo one. That was pretty fast. Alright, Monte Carlo 2. This stage is just, I mean, it's wall grinding to an extreme. I think you wall grind about 6-7 times on this stage, if not more. It's insane. There's one. Yeah. That's a deceptively hard turn right there. Just because even though you're on tarmac for it, it's a 4 right into like a hairpin left, and that alone is just difficult. Not as tight as I would like that to be, but still okay. good segment here is about a 102, 101. I think this is going to be a 102. Yeah, pretty solid. I think I've only gotten a 101 a couple times actually. Even a 103 split there is absolutely fine. Two wall bounces in a row here. Just because it's faster to do that than actually brake properly. Also helps you get your acceleration instantly back up because it gives you a bit of forward momentum if you hit it correctly. As you can see though, now my brake lights don't work, which isn't a huge deal, but it is pretty funny. Once again, more wall bumping. You're actually going to see a mini cut up here as well. This track is probably one of the most, not technically demanding, but reliance of the game's inaccuracies, I guess you could say. We're abusing a lot of physics here, and there's the corner cut that I was talking about. This track probably abuses the physics of this game the most, just because you absolutely abuse the wall bouncing. In fact, this might be a 240, 241, which would be extremely good. Oh, not quite. 242 is still really, really fast, though. So that's good. And for the first time, I'm actually going to repair my car a bit, just because your car takes such a beating on that track. That and also, Monte Carlo 3 is a super technical track. So you kind of want your car to be fully like healed, I guess you could say, fully repaired. Just because the track is so demanding of both your car and technical ability, I guess. This turn coming up is a perfect example. You have 3 left into hairpin. Well, not hairpin, sorry, but 5 right and a 4 left. That was nice, yeah. Something I should mention about wall bouncing. Depending on the angle of your car, sometimes you want to hold away from the wall that you're bouncing on, and sometimes you actually want to hold towards, depending on what angle you want to get, because it does affect the angle. That was very nice though. And this is probably coming up the hardest part of the game, arguably. This section right here. It invites you to go fast and then throws in a 5 left and a 3 right, and it absolutely throws you off. That was actually pretty fast. That was actually not bad. And again, this is very hard as well. You have a 3 left downhill into a 5 left, and it's all downhill. So it's kind of like inviting you to go fast, but then not. And that's what happens. Yeah. So hard to keep control of your car on that downhill. Just because of that, basically. Your momentum just takes you. But yeah, that's probably like 5 seconds, maybe a bit more, I don't know. But that's the first big mistake of the run. But yeah, still fine. Got a little corner cut up here. Can actually not do this 4 left at all. Just cut across. Yeah, that's a shame. Because that would have been a really good Monte Carlo, actually, if it wasn't for that. But yeah. And that is why I say that like, tree section is probably one of the hardest sections in the entire game. Right. Just tight your hairpin left. You actually have to brake really early for, and even then, yeah, wow, that's a shame. Well, this Monte Carlo was going really good until this, but oh well, it's fine. Surprisingly, this uphill 3 right, if you take a good enough line like that, you can actually go flat out through it, which you probably wouldn't expect. Alright. Still a sub 29, I believe, on that that Monte Carlo, which is really surprising. Alright. Australia. So, I guess similarly to Greece, this has like a lot of open straights to it, but also throws in a lot of, and I mean a lot of twisty turns, such as these. However, the one comparison, or the one difference, sorry, that I could pull away from this compared to Greece is that the terrain here is so much more unforgiving, and even though Greece's was already pretty unforgiving, this makes your car go at about 20 miles an hour if all four wheels are on the grey stuff. So, yeah, you just don't want to get on that at all. It's sometimes fine to put two wheels on it, especially if it's like a super sharp turn, like this. Like, that's fine. But, like, you don't, even then, you don't want to stay in it. You want to be, like, you want to put two tires on it and then be gone. Like, you do not want to hang around in that stuff. Because at that point, it'll probably flip your car. Especially if you're going at a high speed. And you're in it for a while. So. This is what I was talking about with long straights. You can stay above 90 through that section. It's very hard, though. You have to take an obscenely risky line. Back to the forest section. And this is the final straight. There is a little shortcut coming up here. On the final, I believe it's a 3 left and a 3 right, you can actually just cut completely across. It's quite risky though, because there are 3 small trees in the way. 2 on the uphill and then 1 on the downhill. So there's the 2. You need to thread the needle but also not hit the 3rd tree in behind, and nice. That was really fast. Pretty good Australia one actually. Sub 240. Very nice. Alright. This track, probably the hardest track in all of Australia. Not just because of the main shortcut in the entire game is on this level, but also just because of a new thing that is Australia only, but has the name called Water Skip. And there are, I forget how many water skips there are, either 2 or 3. I think there's 2 though. 1 in this level and 1 in Australia 3. But basically there's a little splash of water, and going through it with all 4 tyres slows your car down by quite a bit, at least 20 or 30 mile an hour. However, we can go around it with some very, very precise movement. Just because if you go too far away from the water, you'll probably hit scenery. And if you go too into the water, then you lose speed. So here we go. Very nice. I barely touched it. That was essentially flawless. That's as good as you're probably going to hope for there. But you probably noticed how close I was to hitting that gate. And if I hit that gate, my car would have flipped. And yeah, that probably would have lost about 15 seconds. So, quite a risky strat. But yeah, worth it for sure if you can get it, because it saves about 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and in this game that's quite a lot. So alright, here's the main shortcut of the game. Saves about 10 seconds if you get it right. There's a high possibility that you flip your car though. So here we go. You want to go through the bush, slow your car down a bit, and I've hit some wacky scenery that I've never seen before. That's actually fine. So the main risk involved in that is you go too fast through it, you hit the bush, it doesn't slow you down enough, you lose control, you hit a tree and you roll. That's the risk involved there. However, I caught a bit of scenery that I've never seen before, slowed right down and then just made my merry way across. That was very weird. I've never seen that before. Yeah, interesting. I mean, that might have even been fast, I don't know, because it completely takes out the risk involved there. Here's another skip called Forest Skip. Very, very, very difficult and risky, as you can see. Yeah, quite difficult. But, oh well, it's fine. I think Forest Skip saves probably about 2 seconds. But as you see, I mean, you can just catch a random bit of scenery and just go flying for little to no reason. And, yeah. Again, quite a risky strat. Alright, Australia 3. Again, there's another water skip in this level. A lot harder, a hell of a lot harder than the Australia 2 one. Just because the margin for error is even less. I mean, if you try to go to the right of it, you just... unless you get it super correct, you're just dead. And going all the way to the left is... you may as well just go through the water if you do that. Because it's just as slow. Because it requires you to go uphill. And that just loses your speed just as well. So, no point in going for that strat. So basically, you just go to the right and hope. Which, you know, considering the risk involved, and the risk is flipping your car and losing about 15 seconds. Which has happened to me before on a PB pace run. So the risk is absolutely there. As for the rest of the track, a lot of straights, hell of a lot of straights. Starts off with a lot of corners, as you saw, a lot of 3 lefts, 3 rights, but on the whole, the ending stretch of the track is really fun, as long as water skip goes correctly, of course. Bit of a corner skip there. Alright, this is the final water skip of the run, and the second water skip of the run. It's, yeah, I mean, just watch, I guess. Couldn't do it. Yeah, if you go too far to the right, you're hitting the bush. If you don't go far enough to the right, you're just going to go through the water and just do it normally, which is exactly what I did. So, unfortunate, but oh well. Good ending, though. That was optimal exit of that turn. Alright. On to, by far, the hardest rally in the entire game. Definitely the most technical. Just because of the amount of braking it requires. And also the margin for error being so slim, because the off-road is so punishing. And this track actually is a perfect example of that. Lots and lots and lots of sharp turns, as you can see. And yeah, any mistake and you're going at 20 miles an hour. I think at one point I even went to 8 through the very deep stuff right on the edge of the track. I think I've hit 8 miles an hour before on this, after making a mistake. Ridiculously technical track. And apart from that, it's probably noted to say that there's a reason that this and the tracks coming up after this rally in Corsica are the only 2 rallies that we do in max acceleration. Everything else we either do in balanced speed, aka New Zealand, or we do in good acceleration, which is the other 3 rallies of the game: Greece, Australia and Monte Carlo. Apart from that, yeah, there's not much else to say about this course apart from definitely the hardest track in the game, without a shadow of a doubt, because of that. And as you can see, I was just going at about 18 miles an hour, I think I saw. Yeah. Okay, so an optimal finishing time for this track is about a 3:29, 3:30. This will probably be about a 3:33, 3:34 maybe, just because it has had mistakes, but we'll see. Yeah, it's not even going to be that, probably like a 3:35. I don't know, 3:34. Yeah. That's the hardest track out of the way. Alright, Sweden 2. Not as hard, nowhere near as hard. Equally as punishing, but nowhere near as difficult. Even a couple straights in this one, meaning that unlike Sweden 1, you can actually get over like 80 miles an hour or something. Sweden 1 just allows you no top speed. Hence why we go with max acceleration. Just because even in good acceleration, you would never even get close to reaching your top speed on Sweden 1. Just nowhere near. So. There's no point going or even trying anything else at all. This is the straight that I was talking about. You can actually reach about 111, I think I've reached. 112 even. Even on max excel. There you go, 111. Before you have to brake a bit. Another important thing to mention about this track in particular, probably unlike Sweden 1 and Sweden 3 actually maybe Sweden 3 as well, is this track benefits from the player knowing turns like by memory and not by the co-rider. Just because, for example, he can call out this turn, and you can go 3 right into square right, but then not know that the strat there is actually just to drift You might take it like a 3 right into square right normally would be, and go at about 40 mile an hour, and then lose about 2 seconds. There are certain turns on this track that really do benefit from the player knowing exactly how a turn works, rather than simply listening to the co-commentator. Co-commentator? Co-rider. I'm an idiot. Okay, should be about a 251. Pretty decent. Alright, Sweden 3. As you can see on that mini-map, a hilariously long straight. You can easily reach 111, but the difference actually between Sweden 2 and Sweden 3 is Sweden 2 has a lot more hills in it. Sweden 2 was a lot more flat except for that one downhill near the end. As you can already see, the track is undulating quite a lot. Here's an example of that. Uphill in a 3 left. Means you can actually like go quite fast into that 3 left, surprisingly, just because of the uphill. And this turn you can absolutely not do that. You need to go below 40 to make that turn. Every time. There's no way around it. Bad. Alright, here we go. This is the straight I was talking about. Lots of hills. Kind of supporting what I said earlier about this track. Just lots of mounds. And that's how it differs to Sweden 2 in a lot of ways. Bit of a mistake there, but still kept quite a lot of my speed. Probably lost like a second or two there. .113 I saw there. That was very fast. Because of that downhill. Try to go fast. It's very hard to through that section. The ending of this track actually is a perfect example of Sweden being the hardest rally in the game. So the announcer right at the end, oh my god, I'm an idiot. The co-rider, there we go, we did it, yay. Right at the end is going to call out a 2 right, I believe. And it's just like, it's quite a bit sharper than a 2 right actually, as you can see. So if you try and give that like the full beans, if you will, that'll happen a lot. I try to just because I know you can do that turn going full throttle, but it's incredibly difficult. Okay. Corsica. For a long time, for about a year and a half now, we've been using good acceleration for this rally. But it's actually not as fast as max acceleration. Just because we found out that max accel is faster for both Corsica 2 and 3. So whilst we may lose time here, good accel is not really needed for Corsica 2 or 3. And the time save that max acceleration has over good acceleration far outweighs the time save on Corsica 1 that you would get with good accel. So we just switch. Completely unlike Sweden, this track allows for a lot of just flat out turns, just because the tarmac gives you so much grip. But yeah, you can just put your foot down. I've reached 110, 111 on Corsica 2 easy, just because the turns allow it for it, so that's good. And also recently I found a couple strats near the end of Corsica 1 and 2. Both I guess you could say they include they involve wall grinding, but it's not really the same, because this strat right here is right at the end of Corsica 1 is more, I don't know, inclined to use the term wall grinding and not wall bumping, because whereas before in Monte Carlo 2, for example, we were wall bumping a lot, we're going to actually grind across the whole of the U-turn coming up at the end of Corsica 1. And yeah, try and keep our speed that way, because it is probably one of the sharpest U-turns in the entire game. And to be able to wall grind through it and keep our speed at around 30 or 40 is what we want. So here we go. This is the strat. See if we can get it. Okay, that was pretty fast actually. That was pretty good. Yeah, I stayed at around 30 mile an hour. I have come out of that section at about 40 before, but 30's fine. Alright, Corsica 2. Once again, super technical track just because it allows for ridiculous speeds that no other rally really allows for. Which just means a lot of faster inputs on the D-pad. But on the whole, this is probably one of my favourite levels in the game when it goes well. This is so satisfying when it goes correct. The only problem is, because of CMR1's glitchy, not even glitchy, but more janky physics engine, as you saw in Australia 3, I believe it was, no, it was Australia 2, rolling in this game can just happen when you touch something, even if you didn't really feel like it was warranted. And this is like perfectly shown off, I guess, in Corsica 2, where on the back straight, if you hit a wall, if you even so much as go near a wall, you can flip. So yeah, it's not exactly perfect, but yeah. Hopefully that doesn't happen. This hairpin here, perfect example of, unlike Sweden, you can just go almost flat out and be absolutely fine. This is another example. This track is so fun. Like, it just allows you to go so fast, and it's a complete contradiction to Sweden. So yeah, this is where you'll most likely flip along this railing on the right hand side. If you go even, it's like, you don't even need to be near it and it will just randomly flip you sometimes. Same with the left, to be fair. I've seen the left side do it just as well. And here's the second strat I found with wall riding. You can just wall ride around here, and sometimes that'll happen, that's why it's a risky strat. But sometimes you can come out of that turn at about 60, and you can get sub 2s with it very easily. Instead, it probably cost me about 5 seconds. But oh well. Gonna repair my car because this track is stupidly technical. This might be... Nah, I don't think this can be a 55. But it's gonna be quite close actually. Maybe a low 56, which is really good. This track is home to probably one of the hardest openings of any track, probably as well as Sweden 1. This opening is fine, this first like 20 seconds, but it's around the 23-second mark when things pick up. This turn here, coming up, this is so difficult. That was actually pretty much flawless. That was really good. But that is so difficult, so technical. Probably the most technical turn in the game. I feel like I'd be justified in giving it that title because it's a bunch of fast inputs in a row. You're monitoring your speed as you go through that. You're monitoring. God, English is hard. Your gears when going through that. You're monitoring everything basically. Yeah, it's just a ridiculously hard turn. 104, but I mean that's not bad. Well, I believe world record gets a 103 split there. I got on a 102 there before, but it's very difficult. It requires near flawless movement up to that point. So yeah, 104 is fine. This is the final wall ride strat I found. You can ride around this wall. That was nowhere near perfect, but you can come out of that at like 50 miles an hour if you ride around that wall the same way we do in Corsica 1, for example. So yeah, that's, again, 3 strats in Corsica, all that are really quite difficult and require a certain amount of luck as well. Because as you can see in Corsica 2, you can just get hit off the wall and lose years. So yeah, quite a risky strat. That was nice. That was good. 207's fine. It's not amazing, but considering I got a 104 before and not a 103, that's perfectly fine. I should mention as we're close to it, time is when I cross the line. I'll just say time when that happens. But yeah. Again, this is a really technical ending to a track. Because of the amount of sharp turns that are included. You can sometimes go flat out on this section here, as I'm going to try to do. Almost flat out. And time is when I cross the line, so time. That was pretty good, actually. 252 Corsica 3 as well, not bad. Yeah.
Right, all done.
Awesome.
56.10 hit now.
56.10, I'll take that. That's
Yep.
pretty damn solid, actually. Nice. Alright.
You're about what, I don't know. What's that like, about a minute off your PB?
That is 51 seconds off my PB, yeah. That's pretty alright.
Pretty impressive though when you think about it, 56.10.
Yeah, especially considering the amount of mistakes that run, like accidentally hitting save game, rolling in Australia too, like quite a lot of mistakes, but on the whole, that was pretty good.